Welcome to the Unfiltered Path Podcast, where we explore life's journey without the constraints of filters. In a world saturated with highlight reels, we dive deep into the true essence of individual experiences, offering listeners an uncensored glimpse into the triumphs, struggles, and transformative moments that define us. Our mission is to provide hope, inspire resilience, and remind you that every path, no matter how windy or rocky, can lead us to growth and enlightenment. Join us as we navigate the uncharted territories of truth, and to be moved, be inspired, and discover that you're not alone on this unfiltered journey of life. What is up, everybody? How are you? Hope all is well. My name is Graham, owner of Valued Productions. Our company provides video marketing strategies to businesses to help them turn strangers into clients. And I am one of your co-hosts today, joined with my co-host.
Hey everyone, it's Trinity Baker, mindset coach and motivational speaker. I work with individuals who are ready for their next level and know that their mindset is what's holding them back. Joined here with my co-host.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle. I'm the owner of Aerial Jade. I'm an aerialist. That's a fancy term for performing suspended in the air. I'm also an educator, so I teach other people to do it too. And we are here with our guest today.
Hey everybody, my name is Bill Merchant. I am the co-founder of a nonprofit organization by the name of Revolution Fitness. We specifically take care of military personnel and first responders with their physical, nutritional, and mental needs, hoping to not only heal themselves, their families, but the community around them.
Amazing. Awesome. Bill, you blow my mind. Your mission, your passion, how you got here also blows my mind. And I think you are a perfect example of what happens when we are faced with a giant challenge. We have a mission and a passion, and we figure it the heck out. Can you tell us a little bit about what Revolution Fitness is and how you got here?
Yeah, so Revolution Fitness is a brainchild of myself and my business partner, who just happened to cross paths unexpectedly. So myself, I spent 24 years in the medical system. I used to do x-rays, worked up doing CAT scans, began doing MRIs, worked myself into administration, and then COVID hit and was faced with the choice of losing a 21-year career or bowing down to do something that didn't match with my personal belief system and health needs. Unfortunately, I lost my job at that facility I was at, and was faced with the difficulties of trying to figure out how to still support our family. That put me on the road traveling, doing MRIs. And after 3 years of that, it began really putting a lot of stress on not only my relationship with my kids, but my relationship with my fiance. Basically started to, unfortunately, she was put in a position where she was unexpectedly a single mother as I was working constantly on the road. During the short period of time that I was home, there was a gym that I used to work out at. Happened to be selling raffle tickets for a committee I was a part of, and approached the gentleman who was my business partner, John Ross, and asked him if he'd be willing to buy some of these raffle tickets. Also, during that conversation, I was going through a cleanse that I was trying to really work through some inflammation issues in my body, and asking John if he could help really dial in my nutrition so I could still work out while being able to work through this cleanse. Our relationship started to grow more and more each time I saw him in the gym, and it eventually led to a place where we started talking about me wanting to leave the medical system because I needed to take care of my family. I didn't know what to do, and kind of asked John, because I was really enjoying the physical fitness piece. How did he get into it? Where did he go? What did it look like? All that stuff. There was still another piece on the other side, though. I had the stress of holding the main job in our family with the insurances and the financial piece coming in to pay the bills, take care of our family. And so as a man of faith, I leaned as hard into my faith as I possibly could, and just began hitting my knees every day, day after day, for months on end, spending hours on end that I could in the morning when I first got up, in my Bible, doing my devotionals, all of that stuff. Until one day when I finally woke up, that stress of making the decision of walking away from a career that I had no longer existed. Um, After that, I basically went back to John and said, hey, look, if I become a trainer or a nutritionist or whatever it happens to be, how do we start a business and what does that look like? We threw some ideas back and forth. And then my final question was, how do we separate ourselves from every other facility around here that does physical fitness and nutrition that makes this more important than just the same old, same old? That question went unanswered for a couple of weeks until randomly one day I was at a gas station and John happened to pull up on the other side. He leaned over. I didn't realize he was on the other side. He leaned over. He's like, hey, man. And when I looked back over at him, he's like, I've been thinking about that question you threw at me a while ago. He said, what if we focused our attention straight on military personnel or veterans? And I said, I like that idea, but it still felt like there was something missing for me. After 24 years of being in the medical system, I've seen EMS, fire, police, they go through trauma day after day, sometimes 3, 5, 10 times a day. And I've seen them huddled in the corner, holding each other, crying, or by themselves in a parking lot, crouched down. They've, either lost somebody they tried to save in an accident, or they had to take somebody's life, or their partner was next to them and lost their life, or was in severe, situations. And so for me, I came back home and talked about this with my fiance, and she said, Bill, you absolutely love the medical field. You love the military world. Like, you grew up in this with your father. What are you hesitating about? And I said, for me, there's so much more that's left on the table if we don't take care of our first responders as well. And so she's like, she said to me, you know what you need to do. And so I came upstairs, shut the door where it was quiet, and I started writing my ideas down. And the next day I called John up and I said, look, man, like, I'm on board with the military thing, but if we can't do X, Y, and Z, then I don't think I can move forward with this. And John's response on the other end of the phone after a few minutes or a few seconds of silence was, dude, I've never met anybody that feels exactly like I do. I can't believe it. It feels like you're inside my head right now. And so from there, Revolution Fitness's idea was born, and we've just progressively been building on it since then. Excuse me. We've been working together with multiple nonprofits that are in the state of Maine that work with military personnel and first responders. Actually, my very first meeting that I set up after we came up with this idea was the Travis Mills Foundation. We went up there to sit with Heather and Justin, the CEO, and the head of, what is he? He's the head of projects management up there. And we kind of laid on the table what it was we were looking to do. Heather's question to me was, what is it that you're looking for out of us, and why is it that you reached out to us? And at that time, we hadn't decided whether we were going to be a for-profit or a nonprofit business. And more than that, with the idea that we had, what in my mind I saw was where what they do being so much inpatient, they bring people directly to them, take care of the veterans, take care of the first responders with the Warrior Path program, all that stuff. My question was always, what happens to these people once they leave? How do we know that what they've learned is continuing to be, put in their life on a daily basis? It's proven information that if you learn something within 4 weeks after that, if you don't continue to learn it and continue to work in it, you forget it and you start walking away from it. And so what I see Revolution Fitness as is the outpatient extension from something that our state and our country needs so much, like the Travis Mills Foundation.
And you know what's crazy is that all of this stems from what a lot of our entrepreneurs and our listeners and our business owners are all either have previously thought and felt, or maybe currently feeling and thinking. There's so much more than what I'm doing. I'm stuck, but I need the security of consistent income, benefits for my family. What do I do? And Bill, what I want to recognize is that you knew you didn't need to have the answer. You just needed to have the faith and wait for the answer to come. And then what's super cool is all of how the answer came. The gas station, the gym, like the weirdest paths in the world. And I think it's just so freaking cool. And you're following it regardless of how how scary it is.
I
Yeah.
remember during the mass shooting, a similar thought came to my head. So it's nice to know that there is an organization out there acting out a thought that I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like the cops, the nurses, like they have to see all the. I come from to athletics as a coping skill. That's how I became an aerialist. That's just, I lead with motherhood, art, and then athletics. It's very much, that's kind of how I addressed my business and how I walk in life. And so when things like the mass shooting happened, my first thought was just like their coping skills, like this is really traumatic. We've already gone through so much with COVID. And then now, who is carrying these bodies in, like, and these people are my friends, they're part of the community. So it's so nice knowing that a thought I had personally, that there's a resolve out there. And then one thing I want to commend you for as well is one of my consistent and high paying paychecks is a government based event that they
Mhm.
hold it for the community. And so it's really smart as an entrepreneur to have a niche like that in
Mm.
many ways
That's so
beyond the
cool.
heartfelt part. It's actually really smart.
I'm loving this conversation too, because like just like the connections of like things that are happening in my life right now and on these same things, like it's just very inspiring to see uh like that shift, like going from the medical field into entrepreneurship, and then just like tomorrow's not promised, you know what I mean? So like what are we going to do today right now to just like live the best life that we can live and seize that, and I love what you were talking about too, where just like most people like subconsciously may know this, but like the whole idea of you forget something if you're not constantly working
Mm,
on it. You know what I mean? And like that's such a powerful thing. Like whether it's through the first responders in the military that you're helping with that, or just like being an entrepreneur and in business in general, like constantly like pushing your mind and learning these new things and whatnot so that you can stay in that level of like, okay, I don't, if I just did nothing, then I would revert back to these like what you were talking about, Danielle, these older coping mechanisms that weren't necessarily healthy and like didn't benefit me at all, and I think that's really powerful and inspiring.
It is super. Um, Graham, we need to connect Bill with our
Oh,
guest this week.
yes, I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
Um,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
a
We got a
huge,
good
what
connection
a,
for you.
what a good connection that will
Yeah.
be in getting the
Yeah.
word out about this. So Bill, Revolution Fitness, it is not, it's been and it's growing. So how can our listeners and those who are passionate about the individuals that you're serving or going to serve, how can they support Revolution Fitness and getting this off the ground?
Um, One of the biggest things that we're doing right now is trying to put funding together to not only get the word out there more, but we're trying to gather funding to actually get a building opened up. Um, by the grace of God, I have two people that I know that own gyms that have been allowing us to actually bring our veterans and first responders right now to those facilities and working with them. It allowed us to set up a 3 month trial period to test out our SOP, and we had just wound that up. So that was a very important piece to get feedback from the people that we're trying to help and hear, is what we're doing enough? Is there something else? Like, how did it help? And then working through that as well. So right now, one of the biggest things is getting funding together. And we are in the middle of building a website right now. We do have a landing page. I am working with a website designer who has access to a donation website called Hopsy. We're going to be attaching that Hopsy link to our landing page. So even if the page is not up and running, people can get to the website, which is revolutionfitness.health, and get an opportunity to click on that Hopsy link and be able to donate. So we are working on that. That is hopefully within the next week or two going to be something that's going to be fully in effect.
Perfect.
Um,
That lines up perfect because this podcast is not going to be released until a couple weeks anyway, so we'll make sure to have that link in the description.
And if our listeners know of an organization that would then support Revolution's Fitness, right? So like those connections too, as well as the people who need what you do, can they, or is your contact information going to be on that website too, so they can connect the individuals to you?
Yes. And if for some reason somebody personally wants to reach out to me, this is something I've been doing a lot lately. I've been fielding phone calls from first responders and veterans that are just literally struggling, especially through the end of the season last year, through the holidays. A lot of people start to hit that place where it's too much. We know that into January and February, financially, a lot of times it starts pushing people to that place. Wintertime depression is really hitting. I'll put this out there right now. My phone number is 207-551-2061. I will, anytime somebody wants to reach out, if I am not right there to pick up, I will call you back. So please, I've been taking some training classes recently in MI, which is called motivational interviewing. I've been doing some work with some other therapists to be able to have information on how to help people as well. And if for some reason I can't help, I will make sure that I get you the connection to somebody who can. That's a big piece that I want people to know right now, that even though our doors are not open, I will help any way I can. This is something else that I share with some people. I don't share with a lot of people right to begin with, but I feel like it's a very important piece for people to understand as far as Revolution Fitness goes. I've been sober for 8 years, and so I have walked through the processes of destroying my life, trying to find a way to fill that empty hole that was inside of me. I never found it until I finally got sober. And it was even a couple of years after I got sober when I finally started really doing the work. I thought I was the kind of person that could get sober and just skate through and be all good and well. And I was still an absolute disaster of a mess. I work with multiple different men's groups right now that are faith-based groups. It's amazing what I get out of these groups. And sometimes all it is a day that you need to just put your head on somebody's shoulder and cry. It is okay to do that. I don't care what society tells us as a man. It is all right to open up and let go of what's inside, because if you do not, it will destroy you from the inside out.
100%, man. Congratulations on that. I love that. I'm like 7.5 years sober myself.
Nice.
A little over a decade or so.
Yeah.
And we all share on this podcast. So this podcast is just like
Yeah.
a safe place for you.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story. Like I said, I became an aerialist. It was a coping skill. It saved my life. It provided self-worth. And then becoming a mom was just like took off the rest of the stuff, that was just kind of lingering. And then, now I'm a business owner. I can absolutely donate my time. So if you have a wife or a nurse, the majority of my clients are nurses or in the medical field, believe it or not. They just have the grit and grit to be aerialists and show up for themselves, whether they can do it or not, and just really commit to growing. And that seems to be my clientele. So I can donate a class once a month to you if you want.
That would be really cool. With Revolution Fitness, we speak a lot about the physical fitness piece, but we're going to be, when it's all said and done, Revolution Fitness, the plan for it is to be more of a wellness facility.
Yeah.
We're actually partnering together with quite a few other entities, chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, people who do acupuncture. I've got a lady that deals with PTSD, with light treatments and stuff like that, hypnotherapy, whatnot. We're planning on having a couple of different spaces in the gym where these people can come in and set up once or twice a month, or a week, depending upon what the needs of the members happen to be. That way, these people who are in need aren't having to worry about doing what they're already doing, running all over the place for doctor's appointments everywhere. We're going to try everything we can to remove the stresses of their life One of the big pieces was to turn into a nonprofit so that we could remove the financial piece from their burden. The next piece is to make sure that we can bring these services closer to them where they can come have their meeting, hit the gym, do whatever they got to do all at once. And when they leave, at least on that day, we've carried them through one more day.
Right.
We've also said that it's very clear we want our facilities staffed. We're hoping at least 65 to 85% of the staff is going to be first responders and military personnel. So when somebody walks in and wants to know how they can trust us, how we know what they're going through, how to deal with what they're dealing with, basically all I got to do is turn around and give an opportunity to point at everybody that they can see and say, each one of these men and women that you're looking at have been right where you're at right now, and they understand. So that's a big piece for us, is building that camaraderie.
Piece. Yeah.
It's so important. So I've been to Colorado a couple of times to support an organization that helps survivors coming out of human trafficking, right? So one of the major things I've learned through that experience is that when someone is ready, regardless of what the situation is, the worst thing they can do is feel alone, right? So you're giving them that space when they're ready for whatever level of that ready they are. And then that's how we continue to grow, right? That's literally what I do for my business. I start right with the reels of just being an inspiration, so that when someone can connect to me, then they can take my free training. And then I've got workshops, and then I do coaching. And so you always want to offer a space for people when they're ready, because we have to. It's the only way that people are going to feel supported. It's like community. It's like creating this community caring space, right?
I like what you're doing too, in the sense that you're offering additional health options that are not supported necessarily by insurance and things of that nature, and giving it a mission so people can access it. I love that. In my own little way, like I'll bring a whacker, like a dancer, or a Pilates coach, because I teach based out of Pilates information, but it's not my focus, right? And so I bring Pilates instructors in. I work with dance studios. It's a beautiful thing when we can all kind of start collaborating and creating a true experience for these athletes or people healing, whatever, point of view they're coming from. It's really comes with collaboration. So that's just awesome. Massage therapists, I always bring them in and have them promote their business within the class structure. Like, I'm always trying to find additional ways for us to heal. I personally went to hypnosis to stop smoking, and it worked, and it was beautiful, and I get to live a totally different reality now. And so it's just like, I really love what you're doing in any way I can help. And Maine is there. I work out of a karate studio and a boys and girls club. I'm a traveling circus school. That's what my business proposal is designed as, so I can get to as many communities as I can to share the art form. So to see you, come from it with already a support group of others, it's just, Maine really needs it. When I watched COVID happen, the fitness studios were the first to go. And when they're people need. And so one, it's a risk to have that business, but two, it is requires a community of people to be successful. And I think a lot of other entities, like business entities, know that. And so the conversation is more collective now, which is great to see, because I think if something like that happened again, I don't think the fitness world would be as rattled.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that guy that was in New Jersey that set his entire gym up out in the parking lot and refused to stop training people, that will be us. Like, there will be no way you will stop us. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous that, so as a medical professional, why we don't push eating well, being, well in the exercise world, getting up, moving constantly, having some kind of growth in our life each day, why that's not part of healthcare has always blown my mind. And being in administration, it gave me a chance to see behind the curtain, and it's like the Wizard of Oz. When you peek back there, it's not always what you think it is.
Truth. Okay, so this is why I do what I do, right? So it all stemmed back to this crazy idea I had. I wanted to be a psychiatric nurse, and I was like, that's what I want to do. After like 10 years of doing all kinds of other nursing, like, that's how I'm going to make an impact. And holy crap, was I wrong. It was literally the curtain that got pulled back, and I was like, this is not supportive of people. Our entire mental health system is screwed. Where
Yeah.
can I help personally 20 steps back before we talk about mental health, hospitalization and all the antipsychotics and completely comatosing people? Like, where can I make an impact way back there? And it's teaching people the power of their mindset, teaching people how you can overcome anxiety, depression, addiction, and you can literally open the door to an entire new world with the power of your mindset. And then I send people to places like Revolution Fitness, where they can access an abundance of those things, right? Because we're all different. We all have different needs. So I love the niche that you are serving. Then I have a connection to another community with a different niche that they are serving. And so I can open that door for them, and then I can send them to you for continued growth in all areas. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole idea of preventative and like maintaining a health, like it's definitely the way to go. But like, and I hate to be like the devil's advocate here, but like according to like these insurance companies and people and like that get paid after the fact, you know what I mean? It doesn't benefit their bottom line. But like if there was a massive shift, and I love that like you, Trinity, and Danielle and Bill, like what you guys are doing, like it's that piece that helps with that shift. Because if we can prevent people even needing to go to the hospital, then like it just benefits everybody so much more versus like filling up the hospitals, and then like now you got all the financial stuff that goes on with it after that, and
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I went through the chemo experience. So I was in high school. I had two family members going through chemo and they both died. And then my mom got it and I was in business school. And I ended up leaving business school and she survived. But the watching the chemo experience was much better, may I just say, from the 90s to the 2000s. There was a bit of a improvement. However, it sent me to a spiral of research that I probably couldn't even articulate to people as well as I wish I could, but it was just trauma-based education, right? And I just research. And then I found Dr. Sabi and I went like this and I was like, oh, there's a cure. We're wasting our time.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I went to the side where I can actually help.
There's so
And you know what I mean? Like, what do you do after that? Like, okay, so there's
Right.
a way to resolve this. So
You
this
don't go back.
conversation is dead.
Right.
Like, and
Right.
this was the beginning of the
Yeah.
2000s. You know what I mean? So think about how many decades I've had to sit here and know based off of pure grief, and then watch my peers and friends go through it. And I just show up for my aerial class knowing that at the end of the day, I'm shifting that purpose. Like, it's just crazy.
It's total movement. And I think that as long as everyone who's meant to be an advocate for this movement steps into that in our lifetime, which we're all doing, and Graham, you are also doing it. I'm going to talk 1 second. But I think as long as we all do that, we can continue this movement for the generations to come. And that's what I'm excited about, because I'm all for generational shifting, right? Like a lot of the things I do personally, getting sober, figuring out how to not suppress emotions and use healthy coping mechanisms and all those things. I do it for my son. I do it for his kids and his grandkids and future generations, because I do not want to see him live the life my previous generations has lived. And Graham, you are also in this world because it's got to spread our message where the people are. Like, I literally would not have a business if I didn't learn to do that before my business was even created. And you taught me that. And I'm here to, I think I can speak for Danielle. Like, you've taught Danielle a lot of that as well. So you allow us to have a voice. And so you are part of that movement. So then that like broadens your perspective too. It's not only the healers that are making that movement, people that believe in it, that are helping the healers get the word out too.
100%. It's like it goes into like, what is a movement? You know, it's not just the people that are providing whatever is happening. It's like the people that surround it, and then the people that experience it, and like it all then just extends outward, and now you're making some real shifts in the world.
Well, the power of a commercial, right?
Right.
There was a commercial for like a preventative AIDS thing. And they said that word maybe 10 or 11 times in like 30 seconds. It was pretty intense. And I don't have normal TV. I was so upset. It was like the other day, and I was like, mute that now, mute it, mute it. And now they have to mute commercials, or I'll take it off. Like, we just went no TV for decades. My son's 10. I was like, maybe I should be that mom and just like let it happen. And my whole point being is, you've given the power, help give the power to the people, that our commercials are being seen, that our voices are being seen, and not just the programming. Like, that's
Totally.
what I mean. Like, we can mute that, but like, you're giving us that commercial space to make a shift, and that's huge.
Yeah. And I think
Huge.
that's what's
Or it would be like those creepy commercials
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
exactly.
that's literally what this podcast does.
Yeah,
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 true.
You
100%.
overall mission of all of the guests that we've had on, all of the things that we've said, the quotes we've noted, like, they're all about the movement that we're talking about, because a lot of the entrepreneurs we have on here, the business owners we have on here, are the healers, are the practitioners, are the people within the movement making this happen. And then we have everyone else, like Wayne from Camden, like, he's going to talk about funding to help you make the movement. And then we have like someone with a system who's like, I have this system to help you to get structured and make the movement even bigger and make your message even bigger. It's just the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing.
It really is. I love it. That's why our t-shirt says, entrepreneurship is the revolution.
Mm-hmm. Heck
And
yeah.
that's like our t-shirt. You can get a magnet if you want. And then our other one is guided by universal wings. And it's our bumper sticker, like our bumper magnet. Because much like your business, it was just like those divine interactions with your business owner. I feel like once you get into it, that's like all it is. It's like these random meets and alignment, and you just kind of nod to God and keep it going.
That's
Yeah, I've learned that if you want change, you have to be the change. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
sure Michael
You know,
Jackson
I,
said.
I actually that just sparked something you had mentioned earlier about the shooting that happened in Lewiston. If you want to talk about something that's crazy, I ended up being invited to a social one night for a networking group that was outside of BNI. The lady that invited me was like, I have somebody special I want to introduce you to. It ended up being the brother-in-law of the gentleman who was the shooter. And he
Wow.
lives down here in the Scarborough area and is starting a nonprofit to raise awareness of these mental issues that are basically buried because
He had signs.
everybody was failed in that situation.
Yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
had signs. We should have
Yeah.
heard him.
Well, he was let go from a mental institution because a judge demanded they let him go when he
Yeah.
was not cleared to leave.
This is why
There were signs.
This is why I left the mental institution, because I saw this. Like, it's literally writing on the wall. And I was like, I cannot support this at all ethically. Like, I have a license as a nurse. I am not here to support what's happening. And so it is a whole movement, but it's the really, really shitty situations that ripple the movement. Okay. And so it's an awful thing that happened. And it was traumatizing for so many people. Not to minimize that at all, but we have an opportunity when really shitty things happen to make a movement out of every single one. And it takes really special people to look at a situation like that. So that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Bill.
I'm glad that his kind of scenario is being talked about. Like, it's so quick to just like demonize him, which is obvious, and then just kind of just rid of the conversation. But the reality is what about his family? Or like, that those people exist. I was on this podcast when someone told me that Leon Hinckley had killed himself and other people. And I grew up with him and I didn't know until the woman was on here telling me that this happened to this man. And I'm like, oh my God, there were signs everywhere.
Yeah, right. And you didn't even
know. Like, there were just signs everywhere. So I was just like, I can't help but think of that. Like, like, one, we don't want the other people dead, but we could have. Usually that's screaming out for help from someone else too. Like they don't want to hurt a bunch of people usually. Like, there's usually this buffer point where they're like, I need help, I need help, I need help.
It's like that pressure cooker that we were talking about prior to the podcast, that it not just in the individuals in like what you're talking about, Danielle, but like in the whole of everything, there's a big shift happening where, people are under this pressure and like that can only go for so long, you know what I mean, before something happens. And
especially when they're military trained, like we have to pay extra attention to these men and make sure they're mentally okay.
Yeah.
Bill,
Well, and they're specifically trained to bury this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So their job is on the line if they admit that there's an issue. And so one thing that we're capable of doing that talking with the Mills Foundation as well, they're working with their Warrior Path to get this pushed through as it's a training that these people are going to, because the wording matters, right? Instead of being like, oh, well, you have a mental illness that we have to worry about, this needs to be worded a specific way because of the fact that insurance companies do seem to run everything, and the bureaucracy of the brass that happens to walk all the way through the military and first responder world. If those specific words are used, that there is a mental illness piece, they will run away from any help that there is out there because they're afraid of losing their job, the stigma that comes with it, and much more. And so we have to be careful about how we do this. And it's sad that we have to hide behind, words and meanings and purposes and whatever, when I feel like there is a giant shift happening. I feel like it's being more readily talked about, and we know more and more and more each day that these people are out there and they're hurting. And if we don't help them, these scenarios like we're talking about do happen. So, it's been great. I've been able to work with a couple of town council members, chiefs of fire departments and police departments. I actually was able to get the Travis Mills into play. It blew my mind the Travis Mills Foundation couldn't get into a couple of these places. I happen to have inside connections because of networking, where I dropped, some information off of the Travis Mills Foundation, and now they're capable of working with multiple departments they couldn't get into for some reason, simply because somebody I knew passed it off to me. That was a trusted, referral. And now, I'm seeing such an amazing growth piece in my life because of networking. We're getting the capabilities of breaking these barriers down and breaking these walls down and getting through this process. And if we have to learn the lingo and call it a training for now, and I don't care
I think
what
that's
it is.
brilliant, though. I think that's okay. I think it's human nature to sometimes be triggered by words. And then while it doesn't seem fair, the insurance companies do run everything, even my world. I think it's kind of healthy, though. I like that. I'm into it, like a little bit. Because also, like, I'm an athlete, but sometimes my leg hurts, my shoulder hurts, like, and I have to go in front of a class and pretend to, not pretend, but be an example to them. And sometimes I'm not 100%.
yeah, dude,
and I think that it's to say, oh, I'm going for a training.
I think it
sounds great.
because this is the other aspect of why I do what I do. Like I mentioned, generational shifting. A lot of us come from generations past that we are taught to suppress our emotions and use unhealthy coping mechanisms. And I'm here to say, F that. There are plenty of coping mechanisms that are available to us 24/7 and are so healthy and help us become our best selves. Let's learn them. Let's talk about our emotions. Let's stop pretending. And even me as a coach, like there are days that my emotions are not in check. I am here to say and admit that, because then it makes others know that they makes them feel comfortable that they can also be vulnerable and say, I'm not 100% some days either. And then let's talk about what we're doing to help. Let's find these regular, normal, healthy coping mechanisms and shift the generations to come. That's how the movement continues to happen with the next generation. I forget.
And I think
of women and children come to the mental health of the men, and that there's space for them to be sensitive and cope, because the first place it hits is the family structure that feels the strain of the, especially our masculine, strong individuals out there. Like, I hope there's a safe place for men to go cry.
Well, and I think
Those
that
places.
I think that this podcast is a great like kicking off point, and I hope that our listeners are really taking inspiration from this. Bill, we're probably going to have another episode because we could definitely talk about this so much more in depth. And like, I hope our listeners join this movement of like making a shift in the world, and this is inspiring. And if you know anybody who's struggling, like I'm pretty sure I can speak for most of us here that any of us here feel free to reach out and happy to be an ear. And so thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, Bill, for being here. My name is Graham, owner of Valued Productions. You can find me on social media at Valued Productions or valuedproductions.com. That's VALUD Productions. Joined with my co-host today.
Hey everyone, it's Trinity Baker, mindset coach, motivational speaker. I am 100% here for anyone who is like, hey, I'm feeling really crappy emotions. My mindset is jacked and I want to figure out how to be healthier. I'm here. I've got so many resources. It's unreal. So you can find a lot of the resources at my website, thetrinitybaker.com, or reach out to me on your favorite social media platform. I'm here as an ear and just to listen. The Trinity Baker, joined with my co-host.
She also has a journal book that I highly recommend. My name is Danielle. I'm the owner of Aerial Jade. I'm an aerialist. You can find me on aerialjade.com. We can live chat, or Aerial Jade Art. I lead with motherhood, fitness, overall health. I love being an entrepreneur, so I am a referral master in terms of that. Reach out any way you can communicate with me. And we are here with our guests.
Sorry, I can't help myself. I'm chuckling at the peanut in the background. Bill Merchant, the co-founder and CEO of Revolution Fitness. I would love to be an asset for anybody, whether it is me that can actually help somebody walk through a very difficult time today, or if it is me connecting you to whoever it is you need to speak with. Again, I'll put it out there. My phone number is 207-551-2061. My email is revolutionfitness@proton.me, and our website is revolutionfitness.health. We are looking to bring our community back to a healthier, happier place, and getting rid of the stigma of PTSD, dementia, mental illness that comes from many different facets of life. It's not just military action. Local responders go through the same exact things. And let me add just one last piece. A lot of times we put the pressure on the men that we go through a lot. Since COVID, the suicide rate of females in the military and the first responder world has exploded. And so they have this new pressure where they need to be as good as, or they need to have this role and, perform as well as the men and all this stuff. So this isn't just about men. This is about women as well. And this is about just making our communities healthy again.
Heck yeah. So if you know anybody, make sure to connect with Bill. Tune in next week to our podcast. Make sure that you go like and follow and subscribe and all that good stuff where you listen to your favorite podcasts. And we will see you all next week on the Unfiltered Path Podcast.